Avengers Infinity War is brimming with characters, shocking moments, and not to mention a shed load of references and Easter eggs. Here's all the ones we managed to spot. Hopefully it goes without saying, but there's going to be loads of spoilers too. Infinity War owes a debt to Jim Starlin's 6-issue series, The Infinity Gauntlet, which serves as a major inspiration for the movie, with several moments being lifted from the panels of George Perez and Ron Lim. Right at the beginning, Hulk crashes down into the Sanctum Sanctorum, just like the Silver Surfer does on the page. Thanos takes horrific pleasure in torturing Nebula, but in the comic, instead of disassembling her, he's more intent on charring her flesh. Lovely. In the movie, Thanos uses the Reality Stone to incapacitate Mantis and Drax, in similar ways to how he deals with Nebula and Eros in the comic. In both versions, Spidey winds up the Mad Titan by shooting web fluid directly into his face. Thanos even kills Vision by tearing out his key components, reducing him back to little more than a machine. Also, the snap of the fingers thing to wipe out half the universe is lifted from the very first issue of that run. And even the ending of the movie visually echoes the comic's conclusion. In the miniseries, Thanos has been defeated and given up his quest for power, and is leading a quiet life as a farmer. And he looks out with a similar look of contentment. The movie also takes plenty of cues from the more recent Infinity comic event from 2013. Notably, this is where the Black Order, aka the Children of Thanos, come from. In the comic, they're called the Black Order or Cull Obsidian, but in the movie, that name is given to this absolute unit. Ebony Maw, this guy, uses his powers in the comic to great effect against Doctor Strange. In the movie, Cap and his team fight a race of genetically engineered horde of Outrider warriors. Something similar happens in the comic, with Wakanda under siege from the Black Dwarf. And that's not all. Loads of other stuff from Marvel Comics find their way into the movie. The Iron Spider armor teased at the end of Homecoming takes center stage, and has the mechanical spider legs we've seen in the Civil War comics. In the final act of the film, Doctor Strange uses a series of spells that might be recognizable to fans of the Sorcerer Supreme, including the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak, which he uses to snare Thanos. Later, when he confronts him one-on-one, he unleashes the images of Icon, creating a swarm of duplicates to confuse Thanos. Thor travels to Nidavellir, one of the 9 realms and home to the dwarfs. Only one dwarf remains, Atri, the king of the dwarfs, played by Peter Dinklage. He forges Thor a new weapon known as Stormbreaker, which in the comics is the name of the weapon Odin has made for Beta Ray Bill, an alien who proved himself just as worthy as Thor. While the observant may have caught a glimpse of Beta Ray on the Master's Tower in Thor Ragnarok, the character has yet to properly show up in the MCU. The Stormbreaker in Infinity War looks much more like Thor's hammer in Marvel's Ultimate Universe, combining a hammer and an axe. When we meet the Guardians of the Galaxy, they're listening to the Rubber Band Man by the Spinners, which is one of the 300 songs on the Zoom Star-Lord gets at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Rocket gives Thor a replacement eye that could be the one that Groot stole in Volume 2, even though they appear to be different in colour. At this point, it's probably worth pointing out that Rocket definitely has a thing for eyes. We see him try to take this dude's eye in the first Guardians film, so it's quite possible that he just got a lot of spare eyes knocking about. At the top of the movie, Loki says to Thanos, "We have a Hulk," which is a direct echo to his conversation with Stark in the first Avengers movie. And finally, we find out what happened to Red Skull. At the end of the first Captain America film, he's transported somewhere in space and time after he attempted to wield the Cosmic Cube. Here we learn that he's been stranded on Vormir. He's been watching over the Soul Stone, which he can't claim for himself. Interestingly, this Red Skull isn't played by Hugo Weaving. Instead, the Red Skull here is played by Ross Marquand, who you probably know from The Walking Dead, and also happens to be rather excellent at impressions. Bucky is once again referred to as White Wolf, like we see in the Black Panther post-credit scene. This time, it's T'Challa using the name. In the comics, White Wolf is a name that belongs to Black Panther's half-brother, an entirely different character. But it seems in the MCU, this has become Bucky's new name. Well, that's better than Winter Soldier anyway. At the beginning of the film, Tony tells Pepper he had a dream which they had a baby named Morgan. Morgan Stark, in fact, first appeared in Tales of Suspense number 68 and is Tony's cousin. Over the years, he's been used as a jealous villain who wishes to take Stark Industries away from Tony. That old film that Peter Parker's referencing this time around? Aliens. And if you're Peter's age and haven't seen Aliens, what are you playing at? But he's referring to this awesome bit. Worked on an alien queen, and it works just as well against Ebony Maw. In the flashback sequence, we see Thanos conquering Gamora's homeworld using the same armada he gave to Loki in the first Avengers movie. He's got a strong Chitauri army with Leviathans cutting about the sky. When Vision asks Scarlet Witch to stay with him in Edinburgh, there's a very visible sign in a takeaway shop advertising that they will deep fry your kebab. An odd thing to make so visible, but this is a little nod to the shawarma, a very similar dish the Avengers went for after the Battle of New York. And right at the end, after the credits roll, Nick Fury contacts Captain Marvel using a souped-up pager. Played by Brie Larson, Captain Marvel will be one of 2 Marvel films coming out before the second part of Infinity War.